Hi everybody, in this video I wanted to talk about how now we're diving into modding our Nitrado, DAYZ, PlayStation and Xbox servers, how that can really affect the reliability of your servers and what you can do to mitigate it to a certain amount, but also what we've got to really come to terms with to keep our servers running and understand ultimately what's going to happen with mods is the fact that the servers will become more unreliable, they will crash more, the loot systems will break down more often. But there's a few things we can do. I guess probably one of the most important things is that when you're working through, say, your types editing, and you're adding another 20 FAL LAR mags, when you add something, take something away. So if you add more assault rifles, take away some pistols. If you add more sniper rifles, take away some shotguns. If you add more military clothes, take away some more hiking shorts, that sort of stuff. Because the hidden behind the scenes stuff that we don't really know is the load that the DAYZ engine can handle in terms of the processor cost and the memory cost of all this stuff. So try and be balanced with what you're putting on and try and take something off as well. But then there's also a few other things that we can do. So for example, if we go into, let's go into our Nitrado server, we're just going to the settings for this particular one. And one of the things you could keep an eye on, just to see how things are going, is you could look at things like your RAM usage, memory usage, and how much the CPU. I don't think there's anybody on my server at the moment. Oh, there's only one person. But seeing how that kind of ramps up. And generally, especially with memory, if you reach sort of certain levels, the server will then crash. But the way that you can get a handle on this is really to go into your automated tasks. And what you want to make sure, and this is very easy to do, you want to add restarts, because every time the game restarts, it's not going to blank everything, it's just going to kick everybody off, the game's going to restart, and then it's going to clear the memory down, clear the CPU down, everything's going to sort of be where it was, but it's going to go for a respawn cycle, or start doing the respawn cycle. And problems with inventories being bugged out, not being able to pick things up, will often sort themselves out with a restart. So as you can see with my server, my standard servers, I run a 12-hour restart program, so once every 12 hours the restart. Now as we move into servers that are more heavily modded, and I do know that when we're talking about modders, we're talking really about server-side adjustments, aren't we, to the XML files. I think you really want to move towards probably 8-hour restarts, so you're going to get 3 a day, or maybe even 6-hour restarts where you're going to get 4 a day, or maybe 4-hour restarts. So every 4 hours the server restarts, and that is going to help to solve some of the problems. Now the problem with restarts, though, this is the big problem, is that some things can be triggered by a restart, and I think sometimes we have problems with things despawning, like cars despawning when they shouldn't do. I think sometimes that's triggered by a restart. So maybe go to an 8-hour or 6-hour restart program could very well help. But I think ultimately, if you run a heavily modded server where you're putting lots more weapons in, maybe you're putting lots more buildings in, more zombies, more bears, more kit, all that sort of thing, I think you're going to have to come to accept the fact that after a number of days or a number of weeks, the CLE, the Central Loot Economy, which is the kind of the database and controlling program that is looking at all the things in your server and in your game, that's going to break down. It's going to stop working. So zombies will stop spawning in, loot will stop spawning in, and it will just be like an empty map. So I think what you've got to face up to, if you run a heavily modded server, you're really going to be looking at reinstalling the server on a regular basis. And I think that's kind of what I'm kind of coming to the conclusion with. Not with my servers, not with my private servers. I'm not going to be reinstalling them all the time. But one of the things I'm thinking about doing is having an extra 2 servers, an extra PlayStation server, an extra Xbox server, which will be the heavily modded servers, that I will spin up like on special weekends for special events, and they'll be heavily modded with like loads of bears or loads of weapons or loads of cars or that sort of stuff. But the idea is it will be a limited time event. We'll run it for a few days, and then I will then reinstall the server, so everybody's progress will be lost, because that's what happens when you reinstall. All the buildings disappear and all this sort of stuff. But as long as you follow the right technique of doing it, your XML files stay intact. So when the server fires up again and it deletes the persistence, so everything disappears and everything has to spawn in again, and it's a nice fresh server with the settings you want, it will start working again. And I think that's basically what we've got to face up to. If you're running heavily modded servers, you have to expect that probably maybe once a week you do a reinstall. You know, everybody's stuff gets blanked and they start again, because that's the cost of having a server with 30 bears in it, with 100 FAL LAR battle rifles, with all the sniper stuff, with all the extra buildings and that sort of things. And I guess that's what I wanted to say, really, just to build that into your plans. So if you're planning on making a custom server and you're going to be doing various mods to make it quite different from the vanilla version, don't expect it to last 6 months. You know, that is probably going to break down and you're going to have to reinstall it at some point to freshen things up. Okay, well, I just wanted to put that in as a kind of a PSA. Hopefully the video is useful. Remember, as always, put your questions and comments down below. If you've enjoyed the video, hit like. If you want to see more of the same, press subscribe. Thank you very much, and I will see you again soon.